Yeah, I got it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers, participants, and attendees. I welcome you to the online event, Cybercrime and the COVID-19, co-organized by the Institute for Cyber Policy Studies, Israel, and the International Criminalistic Association, Croatia. The cyberspace shape our daily life as individuals, organizations, societies, and state, and it's changing constantly. In addition, the COVID-19 era posed constant challenges and threats, including to cyberspace. During this period of time, we faced shifts in terms of remote working model and wide range of cyber attacks by individuals, cyber criminals, as well as nation states, all related to COVID-19 pandemic. As Peter Kratotsky wrote in his article, Fraud and Corruption in Time of Disaster, 2018, black market and corruption have always flourished during wartime. And we see that black market and corruption flourish not only during wartime, but also in time of disaster. And I must admit that I was not aware to the term disaster fraud. And yes, there is a term called disaster fraud, which means whenever there is a disaster, man-made or force majeure, there are those that will take advantage of this disaster. As mentioned, black market and corruption. The event will cover by our distinguished speakers, Professor Zvonimir Ivanovic, Dr. Mina Zirojevic, and Professor Nikola Potreka. I welcome and greet you at the beginning of our event, Cybercrime and the COVID-19. Thank you for joining us. May this event be valuable and fruitful to you. I wish you all the good wishes and especially those days, all the good health. Thank you. And now let's start with our first speaker, Professor Zvonimir Ivanovic, full professor at the University of Criminal Investigation and Police Studies, Belgrade, Serbia, for his presentation, Monitoring of Darknet Markets. Professor Zvonimir Ivanovic, the floor is yours, and I give you, of course, co-host. Yes, now you can present.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. I will try to get my presentation running. So I think that it's possible to see it now. Hopefully that you see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is a part of my presentation that should be actually done by me and my students, which were involved in monitoring of darknet markets. But I've pictured this presentation as a part of activity that is showing a lot of movement in this area, because I was under the influence, as they say, by my Dutch colleagues, which were part of my project on which I was part, meaning as leading work package of dissemination, exploitation, and training. And it was about kind of searches on the darknet, deepnet, and surface web. Actually, when you think about the investigation, which should be a part of our striving to fight the criminal circles, we always have a data set, and there are a lot of tries that are done or made by law enforcement agencies in dismantling the circles of organized crime and the cybercrime. In this year, or in these special times, which are COVID correlated and influenced, this is a part of shall I say, mutual strategies of different kind of law enforcement agencies. So we are trying to do the impact on the criminals, but they are actually doing different kind of activities which are in line with their own business-oriented activities. We are doing the damages. We are trying to shut down different kind of websites that are proliferating different kind of criminal assets or criminal tools, whatever you call it. But they are emerging like mushrooms after the rain. You know, that's something that we need to take into account when we think about doing the damage to them. And they are doing the damage mitigation, as you can see, and they are actually improving their own security of themselves as criminal geniuses. I'm not giving them too much credit. They are actually very good in it, and they are working always ahead of law enforcement agencies. So we are trying to do explanation of our own activity, which is connected with our victims, which is connected with our criminal activities, and they are also going up ahead to this line that you can see on this presentation. Our outcomes is or are connected with the adaptation to the dark markets. We are trying to do actual prevention to limit harm, to limit criminal occurrence on different forums, on different sites. And we also are trying to discourage buyers with the advertising when they are searching for the direct messages on the darknet. We are trying to do the notifications. We are trying to do the notifications of the possible victims, possible actors of the criminal activities on the darknet markets. And in that example, you have Dutch police. They have their own .onion and knock and talks. We are trying to disrupt, of course, the criminal business model. We are trying actually to do the reducing of the trust, but not all of this, only of the systems. We are trying to do the reducing of the trust on the vendors, on particular vendors, on particular markets, which is very, very pointy, and it's very problematic from the other side. I will hopefully speak about this more after. We are also trying to attribute and actually to identify and prosecute the actors of criminal activities on the darknet markets. So it means that we are going to arrest physically darknet administrators of the markets. In that path, you can see it's not the activity only on preventive aspect. It's actually mainly on the reactive aspect, which is a problem by itself. So we actually have two types of investigations, which are called the approach. It's so-called criminal law, which is actually focusing on the arrests, on the seizing and the prosecuting, which is actually targeting the actors. And this approach is a so-called classical approach. And that classical approach has its own limitations, which means that the organizations that are emerging as, criminal organizations are adapting to that approach. Not only adapting, they are actually winning that approach. We are losing on that approach. So we are going to, we don't call it, actually, this is the Dutch nickname, law and order approach, which is not focusing on the arrests, which is not focusing on the seizing or the prosecuting. It's focused on the disruption of the markets, of the vendors, of the buyers itself. So it targets the modus operandi mechanisms, which is, um, you can see it here. It's hybrid versions, which are definitely encountered in practice. And the best example is downing of the Hansa market, which is a joint effort of FBI and the Dutch police. So we can identify a couple of different types of targets: traders, buyers, actually vendors. We could also direct or identify market operators, the admins of the dark nets or darknet markets, or even of the parts of the markets. We also identify and focus on the staff. Example are moderators, and of course at the bigger level markets itself, service location, URLs, and similar things. Also, facilitators are also the ones that should be targeted. Referral sites as like deep.web.com or darkfail or whatever, which is done not only directly lawfully, shall I say, but it's a part of so-called shaded activity by law enforcement agencies, meaning that there are different kinds of types of disrupting, which are not so clear, or which are not so freedom and liberties oriented, we are also targeting the actors and of course the sites. What does this mean? So you have criminal so-called criminal law and law and order approach, and you can see that how can we disrupt the same thing? You have traders, and by the criminal law, you will go with arresting the buyers. For the other approach, you're going to discourage buyers in a different kind of activity, meaning that you're going to try to lower the trust into the vendors and into the darknet market, which is specific darknet market. For the market operators, you're going for the criminal law to arrest the admin. You're going to reduce the trust in the admin by the law and order approach. On the markets, you're going to shut down the site by the criminal law approach, and in the law and order, you're going to increase the entry barrier, meaning that you're going to complicate entering to the darknet market with different kind of I don't know, captchas or whatever you try to do, or even the invitation reserved, which is, as you can see, very complicated for the common buyers, and they are going to be definitely lured on the other darknet market, which is very clever thing. This is not my thing that I'm explaining. I'm actually trying to explain strategies that are working in this area and that we are actually buying. Facilitators are in the criminal law approach targeted through shutting down the facilitators, and in the law and order, sorry, this was a criminal law, for the law and order, you're going to reduce the trust in the facilitator. So this is connected with the activities of investigators, which should be IT guys and thinking outside the box. So it's approach over the picture as you can see it. And of course, it's very innovative. Yeah. So this is a timeline of some sites that are seized, that were actually worked by police agencies, law enforcement agencies, and the stars of the show, you can see different kind of operations like Marco Polo, like Onimus, like Bayonet, Gravesec, and similar. So also Valhalla, Wall Street Market, for Berlusconi market also. So you can see the activities of leading law enforcement agencies. Mainly, you can see the FBI, but in the last uh, 3 years, now you have Bundeskriminalamt, which is a German criminal investigation agency, Europol activities, Guardia di Finanza, as it was connected with Berlusconi market, and their activities and results in their own seizures and approaches. But the main thing is not only to see them down and arrested, as you can see, the administrators, but it's very interesting to follow the money here. And how can you infer from the following the money approach what is happening on the dark markets? And if it's possible, for this moment, it's not so possible for my students and me, but it was possible for different kind of law enforcement agencies to follow the not only the money, but the whole activity around different kind of dark net markets. Their own philosophy was if something happens on the one dark net market, all the vendors, all the buyers, and the activities which are connected with the first one will mitigate by itself, as it's doing that in the real business, to the others. And it's possible to follow the activities not only through the activities on the darknet markets, but also through connecting the dots between not only blockchain activities and blockchain results within different kind of buying, selling, or trafficking of different kind of goods, but also through different kind of accounts on the darknet markets, with connected with, of course, pictures and advertising schemes, which are very, very similar from one to another darknet market. So it's possible to follow different kind of activities, and you can see the deterrence result. And on this graph, you can see how it's going to change, or how it was changed, the revenue for vendors who shift from United States of America before and after the sentencing of Ross Ulbricht. Also, you can see the crime displacement from different kind of darknet markets when you have a seizure of one. So you can see on the July 2013 the monitoring of darknet market, which is at that moment Silk Road. After the takedown of the Silk Road, you can see different kind of mitigations on different kind of markets with their own rise, from I don't know, ship scam, BMR closure, up to Silk Road 2.0, sorry, theft. And after the operation Onimus, you can see that it's declining in one part. So you can see that on the timeline, and you can see on the analysis of different kind of activities, meaning daily volume of exchange, which rose to up over the $600,000. That goes down 200,000 after that. And on the different kind of monitoring of different kind of markets, you can see Agora, Cloud9, Evolution, Hydra, SR2, and Operation Onimus. You can see different kind of results that are definitely very, very pointy and you can learn a lot from this. Also, pardon, number of available crypto markets and vendor shops before and after two law enforcement operations in July 2017 and in January to 2018. It actually started in 2017, but around December, I think. So you can see how it's projecting and how it's working, meaning that there are some crypto markets available and vendor shops on the net market, on the dark net, but it's very significantly declining after the first activity, but it's rising up after a while. So we had Operation Bayonet and GraveSec. It was a part of shutting down of Alpha Bay, running and shutting down of Hansa market, but only after a few months of monitoring, which is a very clever thing to do. So I cannot say that they operated the market, but they had their own hands fully in the darknet market, Hansa, after the shutting down of Alpha Bay. So it was jointly enacted operation by FBI and Dutch police. There are distinctions which are very strict between Operation Bayonet and previous interventions, because all that you have heard about approach, which is law and order approach, was implemented in the Operation Bayonet. So crime displacement, as intended effect, was a sting operation, just to analyze, to do the analysis of the buyers, vendors, and activities that they are doing on the market. So this new methodology provides not only insight of the activities within the market, it provides insight and infers not only for the modus operandi of vendors, buyers, or all the actors of illicit marketing, but you're actually, sorry, it's trafficking, sorry, not marketing. You're doing the very very own approach, which is providing you much more information than any other approach. So it's actually investigating business continuity management of reputable vendors, and you can learn and you can infer a lot of it from this approach. So Dream Market became market leader after Operation Bayonet, leveraging longitudinal insights into the Dream Market was the aim of activities of law enforcement agencies. They actually had a dump of usernames, registrations dates, user types from July to September 2017. And the hypothesis was for them, vendors are tending to move along on different kind of markets, and they are migrating from those that are migrating from Hansa are much more careful. And you can see the results of the user-based Dream Market, which was daily, on the left part of the graph, daily new users of the Dream Market in 2017, and users on the Dream Market in the 2017. Migration patterns to Dream Market, new vendors or new nicknames that are created for vendors and buyers are, you can see on I think 40% from the Hansa market, which are similar with Hansa market, are 2%, 50% are very similar or the same from the Alpha Bay, and from the both it's 8%. So you can see definitely that they tend not to change not only the nicknames but all the following dependencies for their own brand name, shall I say, which definitely goes along with tactics, you can say, of I don't know, real business, and it's very similar to the real business. And over the time, you can see after the Alpha Bay takedown on new markets how and where. So you can see new identities on Alpha Bay, connected identities, and Hansa market identities, and you can definitely infer that they are not going to change their own uh, modus operandi or activities that were very famous for them, and they tend along to do that thing. So changes in the vendor behavior goes with the PGP switch on the logging and connecting on the darknet market, username switch, and both and none. So you can see the evasive strategies of migrated vendors to the dream market. They are going to just to change parts of their own activity. Changes in the vendor behavior over the time also are connected with the cumulative numbers of evasive measures by newly registered vendors on the dream market. And of course, it depends on a goal and target what we will do or should do. So, in example, market shutdown versus buyer's arrest. What gives you much more better result? Uh, well, for the law enforcement agencies, buyer's arrest will not tend to break down the market, and will not tend to break down the vendors, which are uh, so-called lawful targets, not only the buyers. Of course, there are parts that could be discussed as, it is a lawful target to get the buyer, but you're not going to break down the net, which is something that will emerge a long time, very, very soon, and very, very after that. Actually, it will not emerge. It will be still there, So coverage and the counter expertise on fundamentals of the modus operandi. They are using Tor. They are using device forensics. We are going to use device forensics for our activities. Web forensics also, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin analysis especially, and especially blockchain analysis. We are going to do the device forensics. We are going to try to do the follow the money, financial expertise. Of course, postal services are not to be forgotten in this activity. And of course, track and trace. And we need to do the red flags on the packages. So this is a mixture of classical approach and newly created approach, so-called law and order approach. So this is something that we did alongside, as my students and me are going to do the so-called monitoring. And you can see we did a lot of activities. Those are just segmental activities that are shown because I'm still in trying to publish this activity. So this was a market which was monitored by my students from 14th of December up until 19th of December this year. And it was another effort by my students during the Christmas break. But it was disrupted, and I will explain that after. So actually, you can see the difference in offerings. So you can see the comparison of the first and the last day of monitoring. For some, there is an upscale or growing up of the offer, but for some there is a decline, like digital goods, so and fraud. So you can, but it's very small percentage of declining, and you can see that it's possible to monitor the activity on the dark, particular dark market through different kind of analysis of I don't know trafficking, even not only the coming and going of the vendors, but their own activity. And you can see that this market sold something and had a kind of need to increase the offer, which is a very good thing that you need to know as somebody who's actually analyzing the not only the business model, but actually the whole approach. Uh, you can see also for different kind of goods, you can specially monitor their own difference in morning and evening offer. So it means that mainly in the morning it's so small offer and it rises up until the evening, which also gives you insight of their own activity. And you know, uh, you can actually do the profiling of not only the buyers but also the vendors. Who are they? What are they doing, and how they work or how they live? So you can also see the first day and last day monitoring comparison of monopoly market for different kind of goods, and also you can see the vendors themselves or users themselves declining or increasing from the first and the last day. For the dark OD, also the market that we did the monitoring, and you can see our own trend line of demand and vendors relations. So it's also possible to do the analysis through that. The revolution market, you can see the same thing that we had the monopoly, but you can see that there are some markets that are definitely focused only on the drugs. So they have a small part of counterfeit good, fraud, and software or guides, but the main thing is the drugs. And you can see morning and evening ecstasy demand in the monitoring period, and you can see that before the moment that is going to start the whole hysteria about Christmas, it's a decline of so-called drugs. Yeah. And the next one, Torres, first and the last day comparison, you can see, and the vendors and users increasing without the trend line. I did not do that here. So that would be my presentation for today, and I'm open for all discussions and for all activities that you need to know from me. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ivanovic. It was a very not only interesting presentation, but an important research and analysis. Before I have my question, do you have any question from the audience, the participants? Any question? Okay, I'd like to ask you, Professor, your important research was, last December, a few days, as you mentioned before, Christmas. And if, even though it was only a week, if you need to do kind of a zoom out to refer to those criminal activities, either on the darknet or out of the darknet, during the COVID-19, can you say that you see any kind of change, either in time or relates to the products? I mean, do you have any kind of comparison between pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID or during COVID-19, A and B, regarding the product? Because when I needed to have the TV interview for that matter, the presenter wanted me to find COVID-19 vaccination on the dark web, and I found it. Which means, did you check also those stuff of COVID-19 vaccination?
Okay, thank you for your questions. For the first part of your question, or for the first question and the first part of my answer, I will say that I definitely, by my own intention, did the omission of showing of direct activity through the period of Western holidays, Western Christmas, because we had 3 days of blocking out of different kind of markets. Maybe it was because of the demand, but I suspect much more the activity on the law enforcement agency side. So there were definitely some kind of activities that were not only the monitoring, but also, I think, arresting part and dismantling part of their activity on the darknet markets. I can definitely give you different kind of figures for specific markets, but it's not uh, today. I don't think that we have the time for that.
Yeah.
For the other side, the analysis of connected activities with the COVID-19 pandemics, uh, there were some uh, figures that we can read, very, very, revealing about the COVID-19 pandemics and connection with trafficking of not only the drugs but all the illicit goods on the darknet markets. And from that moment, when the pandemic started, we had a lot of decrease at the start, but it's very, very quickly that all the markets found its own paths and activities that needed to be changed. And it was, very high after, much more higher than any time before. So this was something that I could elaborate on graphically, but it's much more better that I get the question from you in this way to work on it. And regarding, of course, vaccines, there were some sporadic activities on that side. There were some offerings of different kind of vaccines, not only, I don't know, Pfizer, BioNTech, but all vaccines, even the Chinese ones. But, I think that it was like the sword and eye of Hobbit, or the Lord of the Rings. If you find that on the web, they are going to be monitored much more and much more extensively than the other activities. So I think that it was very, very small potential. It had small potential, and it was to so-called sentenced for low sentence for living, for viable activity on the web. So I think the drugs and other illicit goods are much more wanted on the dark net and on the web than the vaccines.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. By the way, if we are dealing with cybercrime in COVID-19, last evening I received a phishing email in this regard that I have been allocated $5 million in correspondent to COVID-19 pandemic relief funds. And I'm asking to get back for paperwork, verification, and payment. And there is, of course, a fake email, a Gmail account to address, and it's under the name of Sir Jan Gustafsson, Director Strategic, blah, blah, at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Another example of cybercrime, in this case, perhaps phishing or something in the name of COVID-19, the same as our theme of this event. Thank you very much, Professor Ivanovic. And now let's move to our second speaker, Professor Mina Zirojevic, Fellow Associate. at the Institute of Contemporary Law, Belgrade, Serbia, for her presentation on terrorism on the internet. Professor Zorojevic, you will be now the co-host and the floor is yours. Good morning, Professor, and thank you for joining us. You are mute. You are on mute. Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I'm really honored to be here with all of you, and I'm really honored to be the second after Zvonimir Ivanovic, because it's always nice to be after the great presentation, so you have all the information that you need for your own investigation, like mine. I can just say in this first part that the internet and the terrorism can be, of course, threat to darknet and terrorism, because the darknet is always used by the terrorists, not in the other ways that I will show after in my presentation, but even to buy something that you cannot buy on the regular internet, or it's really difficult to buy it on a normal, not virtual world, like something I don't know, something for biological weapons or chemical ones. And on the other side, you can sell something that you can not easily arrange in this real life, like drugs and so on, so on. So the terrorists can be found even on the darknet, on that first part.
Yeah.
So the second one, I will, okay, screen, great presentation. I will try to,
with your
do you
permission,
see it?
Yeah, with your permission, Professor, the volume, the voice is not stable. So let's hope that during your presentation it will be a bit better.
Better.
Let's
Okay.
move on. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Internet is really a nice web media for the terrorists, because they can use it as a weapon, as a communication method, as a media. As a weapon, of course, we all know they can hack, they can use some software, and they can scramble internet sites and so on. They by hacking, I think they can close something like a hospital or electricity or anything else on that, or they can cancel, I don't know, CNN, BBC, and so on and so on. I will not, if you have some questions about it, but I think it's really easy to see it. The communication method was a really good thing before, and now during the COVID is really a nice method to use. First, you have a communication as method to use to share the information you want to. During the COVID, though, we all just sit there next to our computers and listening to all the stuff like about vaccines, not. And then on the other side, we were all alone, and we were, it was difficult, and all the people that have some, I don't know, they are depressed or so on. So they try to find a place that they can find themselves. They can have the group that share their interest, and so on, so on. On the other side, we have the terrorist groups that are really good at that. They have professionals making the web. They can just take you and enroll in their activities, either to be asking to share the ideas to other people, or to be prepared after the COVID situation. They can organize in some groups and then make a terror attacks. Communication can be in between the members of the terrorist group by encryption, by webmail, or by using the different letters. If you use the different letters, like something like Arabic one, then the ways of checking by government or international organizations will be really difficult. On the other side, you can make, I don't know, Gmail or something like that, and you write in a draft part. And I don't know, like me and Dr. Pavel, everybody, we will have the same username and password. So you can share our thoughts in a draft mail. It doesn't go through internet. So it's not the usual sharing. So the usual something like, it's easy to say like umbrella is not checking the keywords. So we can use all the words like, we will make a bomb and put it somewhere here and there at 2 o'clock and so on and so on. And nobody will see that except us, who's got the same password and a username. And of course by encryption, but now encryption's gone too far by both sides. The police, it's really easy to check it, and the other side is, it's not really secure like they like to be. On the other side,
Professor, can you move to presentation mode?
Okay. I think it's, you cannot see my presentation or what?
I can see it, but not on presentation mode. But okay, it's fine like this as well.
F5, F5.
Media can be recruiting. And now during the COVID situation, as I already explained, it's gone really, really too far. On the other side, we have an information system. Like if I have a terrorist organization, I would like to have a flow on information that I would like to share with other people, and not have the checking and making a media presentation that I cannot influence. In my internet site, I can say whatever I like. And on the other side, I can put my organization to look beautiful on the internet. Nobody's checking me. I can use terrorist organization through the social networks. I already received 1,000,001, and probably you all too. We have that in Sanjak, in Kosovo, in Albania. Some guy just say, do you want to be a friend with me in Facebook? And then, do you like to, I don't know, to be a fighter? Do you want to be a group, the part of us, and we will all make a difference in the world, and we can go to, I don't know, Ukraine or here and there, and you will get the money, and you will be celebrated through our people, and so on and so on. And you can have every day a different person who will invite you to be a martyr for the cause. During the 70s and 80s, it was especially by Palestine and Israel, where the Palestine was really active on the internet. And now you have the ISIS, and during the social networks here in Serbia, we have especially that part that somebody will draft you for going somewhere for money or fame to be a fighter for, I don't know, whatever you like, when it was Afghanistan or Chechnya or whatever country you like. On the other side, you have chat rooms in everything, like chat rooms. Well, I don't like a vaccine. Everything is, I don't know, different. The story that your government is saying is different. And then you can, of course, say, no, I don't believe in vaccine or whatever you like. And then somebody will say, yes, but your government is lying. And then you say, yes. And there is a third part. Even with the jihad and so on and so on, they are lying, it's the truth, and you are already engaged. When you start talking, they would probably make something to see that they can make something from you, either a weapon, either working something, or they can steal you or making something like that. On the other side, they share information. Like if you want to see what is in, I don't know, some now with Israel, now with Russia and Ukraine. The Russian part is speaking one truth, the Ukraine part is telling the other, the BBC is telling the third, the CSS, I don't know, CSS is telling, I don't know, fifth truth or a part of truth, or you cannot see the truth of all the information you're gathering. And then you can find something like some really nice page that have all the truth and all the pictures and all the stories about both sides, and that's sharing information, of course, the ones that you want to share again. And if you want to share it and you want to be a part of it, you should follow the right path. Like, are you a Muslim? yes, do you think that now this madrasa or some school is on a right way? Then you, in Serbia, of course, you have Wahhabism. That's a part of radical, that's a really radical Islam. That's part of Islam from the 13th century, that they decided that the usual Osman Islam is not the right way because they have, I don't know, music and pictures and so on and so on. And that's not the spirit of the right Islam. And then they have to fight it for and against. What can you find on that internet site? During the 70s, 80s, and the beginning of 90s, there was a lot of Palestine pages that, and then everything is the same, of course, but they are graduation about during that fight between the Palestine and Israel. They were usually sharing some misinformation, like probably your child is already dead. The Israelis put the bomb somewhere, I don't know, now you say the town, and the 15 soldiers are dead. And now, of course, the Israeli mothers were grieving and thinking maybe my child is there. So they were sharing the information, and there was a lot of, I don't know, like violent feelings to the government of Israeli, because they were feeling that the information about their sons were misleading them. They thought that they are alive, and on the other side, they were probably dead. So that the government, nobody trusted in government, and then of course nobody will go to war, and on the other side, only the ones on the other side, Palestine, will fight there. Then when ISIS and ISIL were there, that was another different way of showing information on the internet. They were like, we all saw 1,000,001 decapitation on a TV. They were sharing their power on one side, and on the other side, they were sharing songs. Of course, all the information are the same about we had no choice. Like Kosovo, Serbia was big and the army was there, and we are all children and all people, and we had no other choice than to fight. The Palestine was saying, but the states are taking the Israel, and we have no other choice but to be a guerrilla. No, of course, not terrorists. In Afghanistan was the same story. We are not, of course, terrorists. We are freedom fighters. That's the only way we can fight for our kids. The other side, like all the others, like the Serbs and the rest, will make the genocide. Then you have the pictures, a lot of pictures and the films that say that is saying, okay, our kids are being tortured or killed and so on, but probably more or less the pictures are the same. The kids are more or less the same in Afghanistan, in Syria, and one other countries, because you cannot check it. Who is on the other side? Well, on the other side is me, you, or any other person. Why? Well, you are trying to find information and then go on one side, on the other side, on one internet page, the other, and so on. And there is no way to find the information that you need. And few days ago, the police took a guy who was a Serb before, but then they he chose to be an Islam fighter, and he wanted to go by bus in the most the pedestrian zone in Knez Mihailova and to kill as much people as they can. So everybody's on the other side. They can just click or receive an email. Do you want to be a freedom fighter in, I don't know, here and there, or some other guy who is working on that side, or a girl? Why is the difference between the media in the usual media and the media on the internet? Well, you can lie, of course. Well, you can lie in public media too, but not as much as the one with no name. You can interact with people. during the chat rooms. You can answer them on questions, and you can lie, you can mislead, and you can influence, of course. On most of the sites, there is like a page if you want to donate money or whatever you like. So it was a big change during the COVID-19 because the media, the internet was using just to find money on one side and to recruit. Now, if the COVID is over, and I hope so, on one side, they will made that recruitment into the soldiers, and probably we can expect some bomb somewhere in some place that they can find really interesting. In Serbia, we are really thinking that maybe the Kosovo one will throw a bomb somewhere, maybe from Sanjak or somewhere like that. So if the team is really big, and so if you have questions, I will be really happy to answer it. Thank you. There is no thank you in my presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor Zirojevic. Do we have any question for Professor Zirojevic? Well, with your permission, I have a few. You mentioned encryption softwares at the beginning of your presentation.
Yeah.
And I wonder, well, I know that there is this encryption software, PGP, pretty good privacy that I think is for the last 30 years. And you mentioned ISIS, and you mentioned other terrorist organizations and activists, and I know that they use it and even made Arabization of the graphic user interface, the GUI. And I wonder whether there are other encryption softwares that they use, and whether we see kind of evolvement, kind of a life cycle in encryption softwares, or that what was in the past exist in the present, that they use mainly this PGP software.
Well, there is two kinds of encryption. That depends on the key, who's got the key. Because on one side, I'm writing something, you an email or something like that, and you have the key. So I'm sending a locked message to you, you have the key, and you unlock it. And on the other side, we both have the key, and there is, in one small piece of time, the message is encrypted. The government can use that second or split second and encrypt the message. And depends of the key, something is really easily to encrypt and something is not that easy. But you know, when technology is rising really from day to day, and encryption is going from really good to bad, of course, sometimes police or the government will say this encryption is the best. Why? Because we will all use the best encryption, and if they have the key or the way to encrypt that message, they will find many protected messages that can be used. Of course, if we don't use encryption and only a small amount of people, like 10% is using that encryption, then they will try to encrypt every message. But if we all find the way to encrypt, then it will be a billion of the million encryption messages, and that something like umbrella, it's really easier to say umbrella, that's the methods of discovering the bad messages. The bad messages is everything from buying drugs or to I don't know, to make a terrorist organization working. So yeah, they usually find some other methods there. They can be really easy, like the webmail. It's really easy to use and it's safe.
And thank you for your answer, Professor. Another question is, what is the ability of law enforcement agencies around the world to actually monitor and track and even capture terror activists, and to, at the end of the day, put them behind bars? What is the actual, not ability, but how really can we track those terror activists? Even, you know, the percentage from your experience of those that law enforcement agency really uncover from those terrorist activities.
Well, there is two worlds, like a virtual one and a real one. You have the internet and the dark web. On dark web, it's less than 1% probably, because it's really wide. Terrorists can be on the dark web. They are terrorists, and on the other side, they're part of organizational criminal group that for I don't know, for buying or selling drugs and stuff like that to collect money. Bitcoins and the real one, depends what they are selling and buying, and that's less than 1%. On the other side, on the real life, the percentage is really higher, because you can the ways of discovering them are more likely to be prepared. Like if they find one guy or girl now, they will try to uncover the net. I don't know, if I am just a soldier, they will try to make the other soldiers. They will try to find another soldier or a captain, or I don't know, the organization that I'm working, and so on and so on. There are different methods, but usually they are tracking the nets, the organizational nets. They are really looking carefully on madrasas, on Islam churches, and the places they are usually hanging out. During the COVID, that was not that easy, because we were locked in our homes, and that was on the net. But now they need to make like to be prepared for something else, and they are usually going to the boot camps to learn how to use I don't know, a rifle or something like that. And of course, police usually knows where that camps are, so they can, it's not they can of course go there and make an arrest of all the people on that site, but that's not good, because they are just taking a piece of the net. So probably it's better to leave them, and then to find where they are going, and to find others in the same community. So in that, probably about 30% is going down, and on darknet less than 1. I think that Zvonimir will.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Professor Zerojevic, and Professor Ivanovic. You want to comment?
Yeah, I want to advertise my project, which is finished at the end of previous year. But actually, we did a lot of stuff connected with the tracking of terrorist funds, and also tracking on the darknet and deep web their own activities. So this moment is very good to advertise the Anita Horizon 2020 project, which has a platform which is actually involving different tools within the platform for tracking different kind of activities on the darknet, meaning that it's possible to involve Systrun's servers. If you are informed about the Systrun, it's not the advertising of the firm, it's actually a commercial translation tool which is used by many of defense ministries of European countries to do the tracking, actually translating instantly text to text, speech to text, text to speech, and vice versa, different kind of languages, among which I don't know how many or how much slangs of Arabic or Chinese Mandarin language. That means that you can track their own different kind of communications and have it instantly translated, much more better than the Google Translate at this moment, which is also not commercial, but the commercial version of them, it's very similar in results. And also we had blockchain analysis of different kind of activities of focused accounts of different kind of people, and of course their own active accounts on different kind of social media networking. So there are tools, not only commercial, which I'm familiar about, but this is not a commercial tool. It's joint effort of different kind of 16 or 17 European countries involved in this matter, which was funded by European Commission, and it's open for all the law enforcement agencies. We still can have a contract with different kind of law enforcement agencies in Europe, which have right to access to that. So you can always contact the coordinator of this project, and you can use a tool as some commercial one. So there are very different kind of tools that are deployed there on the dark net. It depends on their own effectivity or their own efficiency to find and track and of course pinpoint different kind of people who are doing the terrorist activities or planning for the terrorist activities. And also you can find and track their own funds and transfers. So hopefully that gives you more information about that.
Indeed. Okay, so if it indeed elaborated the topic of such activities on the dark web, and now let's have the stage to our third speaker, Professor Nikola Protrelka, college professor at the Zagreb Police College from Croatia, for his lecture on the role of standard operating procedures in the work of law enforcement services. Professor Protrelka, good morning and thank you for joining us in this early morning. The floor is yours and you are now a co-host.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. I will just share my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, so it's visible.
Yes, just to presentation mode.
Yes. Presentation slide. Okay, so as I see, there is only 7 of us here.
Yeah, can you please put it on presentation mode, Professor?
I think it is. Your screen.
We see the
Now?
No. I think it's F5. I think it's F5, but you have a button about just a second. No, you can't see nothing. There is a presentation button at the lower part of the screen on the right.
Just a second. What can you see now?
The same, but it's okay. It's okay.
But I can't see what I'm sharing, so I'm not sure. What do you see?
We see the PowerPoint mode, not the presentation mode, but it's fine. So
Okay, I will
this
switch
this
to.
one. Yeah, brilliant.
So, yes,
Brilliant.
okay.
Now it's fine. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. So I'm really sad that there is only few of us left here, but okay, I will do my part. And because the title is Cybercrime and COVID-19, I don't know, did all those titles fit well in this what we have planned to do today? So I changed a little bit my presentation. It will not be only about the standard operating procedures. I will just mention few words about COVID-19 and cybercrime risks and responses. So as you mentioned before, I'm working as police college professor in Zagreb, Croatia Police Academy. And I will say just a few words about standard operating procedures. I will not do an ex cathedra teaching because I would like to have some kind of discussion if there will be point to who and with who we will discuss. So about law enforcement agencies, what can I say more than they are using different tools? As Zvonimir said before, in these ANITA projects, there are a lot of tools that can help law enforcement agency related to dark web, to blockchain technology and everything else. And of course, for data acquisition, and data acquisition is vital part of these activities. Law enforcement means in Croatia, not only police. It means Secret Service, it means customs, it means public prosecutors, all are dealing with that. Even courts and court experts as well, they are dealing with same forensic tools to help to find some kind of evidence. Standard operating procedures or standardized operative procedures that apply in the Republic of Croatia, and they are recommended by Council of Europe. Here is the link where you can find that. And I think it's the same in all EU countries. And there are some guidelines from ENISA. ENISA is located in Greece, in Athens. It's European Network and Information Security Agency. And of course, trainings for those types of activities are provided by European Cybercrime Center, EC3, by ENISA, and also by CIPOL. I didn't mention here CIPOL, but CIPOL is EU agency only for education of law enforcement agencies. So this was just quick introduction for what will I speak about, but I will stop here and show you just how great results are always published on Twitter and all other, like LinkedIn, from Interpol, from Europol. And when is COVID-19 here, we also have something related from United Nations that is also important because it's a global pandemic. It's not only related to Europe or some country, it's global pandemic, and cybercrime is rising. There are certain risks, there are certain response related directly to COVID-19 and standard operating procedures in that matter. So some key judgments that I will mention is that cybercrime is evolving and growing in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Online fraud extortion, online child sexual abuse targets individuals, and of course, ransomware, primarily compromised systems, and what is the most important, including hospitals. So our health data can also be compromised related to some ransomware activities. And we all need to continue to, you know, that we will be targeted with malware, and we need to continue to be very cautious. Also, another key judgment that I want to add is home-based working. Home-based working in last 2 years has increased the potential cybercrime victim pool. Everyone that have connection to office network can be in that victim pool. People of course, take greater risks online at home, which invariably expose corporate IT to cyber criminals. And of course, there is one other type of cybercrime. It's called phishing. Why phishing? Because phishing will continue to enable malicious access to critical systems for all those cyber criminals. And the third judgment is that quantity of specialized law enforcement cybercrime personnel is reduced. It's reduced, but cybercrime is increased in the short term. So this is big problem in my country. I can see from the very first day, because a lot of young people that have that knowledge, they are not working in law enforcement, they are working in private companies. And then we don't have such a great pool that we can choose someone who will help to law enforcement agencies. Cyber criminals will exploit perceived operational gaps. And this is a game of cat and mouse that we are always playing. And this need to create tactical and strategic law enforcement opportunities. One of that is that standard operating procedures that I have mentioned before. I will just quickly go through slides. This is one, the real example of markup extension of ransomware. This is a real case that is going right now, and criminals sent 2 files with simple extensions and key, so that you can be sure if you pay, they will give you the right key. They are always using some encrypted email that we have mentioned before on presentation related to dark web. This one is Tuta. Tuta is a famous German encrypted mail server. It's used mostly when you have ransomware on your computer. So this is one example of ransomware. Another example related to cybercrime and COVID-19 is Moderna COVID vaccine. You are not sure if this is, there is a Pfizer as well. So this is all taken from darknet. It's fresh example. So you are not sure is this a real thing or not, but you can buy it. And there is also feedbacks that you have down there. It's real feedbacks that I have taken screenshot from darknet. Next example is Telegram group. It's very, very active group related to coronavirus vaccines. It's available all around the world. There is photos of every kind of vaccine. You can order, pay in Bitcoin, and then you can see where you can pick up those type of vaccine. Also, for some countries, there is COVID-19 vaccination record card. Now it's going digitally, but in the first time there was with real stamps from the real hospitals, from the real doctors. You can also buy it on dark web. And there is a Europol a screenshot from one action where world's largest illegal dark web marketplace taken down. This will be the last slide, and it is showing that cyber criminals are doing their jobs, but law enforcement agencies also doing their jobs. How successful, this can be question for discussion. And that will be all from me, and I will stop sharing my slide now.
Thank you, Professor Protreka. And it's a very good question that you raise. Well, first of all, I'd like to ask you, Professor, we know that during the COVID-19 era, we saw a huge increase in number of cyber attacks. Wide range of cyber attacks, mainly phishing and
ransomware.
Yes, indeed. But my question is, we know that we saw a rise, an increase in cyber attacks, but did we see new types of cyber attacks? Because as far as I know, the increase was in existing types of cyber attacks. According to your knowledge and the published information, did we see new types of cyber attacks that were not exist in the past?
I don't know. I cannot remember now, but I know that health data was given some types of priorities in these last 2 years, because in the very beginning, the hospital systems were not adequately protected. And in a lot of cases, patients was sending medical records through WhatsApp or through Viber to their doctors to see what is going on with their health. So for sure, those type of data, even by GDPR, it's specialized data, the data that need to be protected even more than other personal data, was given to everyone, to everywhere, without any kind of protection. So in that particular type of attacks, I can say that hospital information systems were maybe more on target lists than before.
And it's a very amazing fact that you mentioned hospitals. And from my research, I realized that healthcare industry was the most targeted sector when it's come to COVID-19 related cyber attacks. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, as I showed you, it's not only healthcare, it's also the production of any kind of hospitality needs, even masks for face. There was a year ago or a year and a half a really big scam related to those masks. Even my government, from my country, they order I don't know how many of those masks from one manufacturer, but never came. It was fake. It was fake web page. It was fake factory that providing face masks because it was mandatory in that time. So it's related not only to healthcare data, it's related to everything what have been involved in this pandemic situation by me. Yeah. Even those home-based work, because all those peoples were not educated how safely work from home, how to use VPN, how to be aware of opening some phishing links and everything else, because in their company they've been protected, but at home network it's open network, and there was a lot of problems with ransomware and phishing as well.
Yes, indeed. I want to ask you one more question, Professor. We know that currently we are in the fourth or even the fifth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in my research, I realized in one paper that at least in the first wave, there was kind of a correlation between the pandemic wave and the peak of this wave and the wave of cyber attacks. Did you see, or did you know, from your experience of such a correlation between peaks of waves, the fourth or the fifth wave of COVID-19 pandemic and wave of cyber attacks?
No, I didn't have opportunity to read your article and to see those statistics, but it sounds interesting.
Okay, we covered the first quarter of 2020, and which means the first wave, and cyber attacks, especially against healthcare sector in the US. And we saw that there is kind of a correlation between the number of, at least reports on cyber attacks against healthcare sectors during the first wave, and when there was the peak of the first wave of the pandemic, we saw at the same peak in reports of cyber attacks, COVID-19 related cyber attacks on hospital and on US. You know, it's only the report.
Okay.
It's only the report. So I wanted to understand whether, from your experience and knowledge, it exists beside the US, and whether it's...
No, I don't have any data, and I really don't know about that correlation.
Okay.
I didn't examine that, but it sounds interesting. And now, after 2 years, I think it can be really nice research.
Yes. Do we have questions from...
Yes, I would like to ask also if there is any colleague that want to add something or discuss.
Do we have questions from the audience?
Because I have lessons with my students this morning. I didn't hear from my colleagues Zvonimir and Mina all presentation, but as I know from before, they've been interested always.
It was interesting and enriching.
And what about this Israeli guy? He didn't present today.
No. He wasn't able. He was a representative from a Checkpoint, but unfortunately, he was not able to attend. But let's hope that in our next event, we will invite him and he will attend and will contribute, of course. Regarding, you mentioned law enforcement and COVID-19. I know that, and remote working model, I know that there is lack of awareness and knowledge of those employees that were sent to work from home as relates to cyber risks. Can you please elaborate on this lack of knowledge, mutual knowledge of cyber risks when it comes to remote working model from the employee and the employer as well, which we know that it's a huge disadvantage and vulnerability. This A, working from a home model, and B, lack of cyber risk knowledge and awareness.
Okay, so all that happened practically through the night. People were not prepared. They've been not educated to work from home network. It depends. Are they using official devices? Are they using their own devices? So it depends what type of connection they are using. Primarily, if it's VPN, then it's better protected than its normal connection. If they are sending email, there can be a problem. The special type of one of the mostly used in the scam in all these transfers called business email compromise, because phishing compromised email accounts which pretend to be senior official in the target organization continues to use social engineering all the time. And it was enhanced by added urgency of the pandemic to encourage, for example, this is case in Croatia, to encourage the movement of funds to criminal accounts, to criminal banks, to foreign exchange or cryptocurrency accounts, or it's used to obtain sensitive data for malicious use, including espionage, for example. I saw a lot of that case in my country, and money just went. Money went on some other accounts. I will not mention which country are involved. It's still ongoing process. But this is something what usual users didn't have enough knowledge. There was no awareness raising campaign. There was no time to do that. So this is one type, what I have mentioned, of this home-based working or remote working.
Yeah, indeed, you are absolutely right. And this lack of awareness of employees and employers of
Yes, and phishing attacks are the initial vector of infection, always.
always.
So then you are connected directly to company, not to only that user.
Yes, and you know that beside the lack of awareness, and in addition to lack of awareness, it's exactly what you say, that when you are working from your office, you are like in a castle. You are
mostly, yes, you are using devices that are checked by someone, by your administrator. When people click on a link or a document, the account is compromised. The compromise may be visible to the victim, but more often this compromise is covered and enables the criminal to establish and maintain long-term access to the account or organization or associated IT. And then gathering sensitive information, advanced persistent threat can be, you know, really big problem. They can change the details of documents. They can delete data, disseminate misinformation, disinformation, provide fake news. No, you know, the story can go on and on. It's not only related to one type of scam or fraud.
Yes, one of the reasons is because from home, when we work from home under the remote working model, we are no longer in this guarded castle
Yes.
with the walls, with the IT walls. We are working from home, from our private laptop or PC, unsecure internet connection, and probably from our private email account and not organizational one. So this is one of the major aspects of.
And there is a one let's say it's not funny, but there is a lot of mails coming to those home-based workers that says your camera was turned on. I have recorded you in some inappropriate doing.
Yeah.
So please pay us because we will publish that to your company. And people are not aware, is that camera is worked or not? They don't know because they are every day online. Sometimes camera is on, sometimes it's off. So they've been scared and they've been paid a lot of money because they didn't know if they have been recorded or not.
That's take us back to the fundamental issue of awareness and lack of awareness in everyday life, and especially now during COVID-19, as relates to the theme of our event, cybercrime in COVID-19 era. Thank you very much, Professor.
Welcome.
Do we have any more questions to our three professors?
Not question, it can be discussion related maybe to this conference or maybe to some other conference or roundtable or whatever, but we need to be prepared much better than today.
We will, definitely.
Can I add something?
Yes, of course, Professor Ivanovic.
It's a kind of possibility where we are doing this rising of awareness for all of our watchers. There are no big numbers of watchers, but I understand that you are going to record this and publicly made it available. So it's possible to reach more than these people that are still in the call. From the other aspect, I needed to lean on Nicola's discussion. I think that we all are in specific times where nobody is prepared. Not only the people who are doing that from home, but also it's not properly prepared by the firms, the security systems of big systems, because this is something that happened to all of us, and there are many of lackings or exploit points for the criminals, and they are definitely exploiting it. Whatever you do, you're not prepared to have those kind of connections from home or to the other devices, many devices included. Today, I had 3 devices connected with this call. So it's possible to gain the vector of kind of getting inside or backdoor for the criminals to have them actually exploiting my Windows 11, which is always patching itself because of the lags and exploits that are there. So, or my Android phone or my Bluetooth hearings or headphones, whatever, it's possible to exploit it because it's made by a human, and humans make errors. So we need to be very, very careful what we are doing, when we are doing, or is it going to be exploited by the others? In that way, we are always in some kind of, afraid status, which is not a good thing, especially when you're online and you're focused on online activity. Uh, I think that our countries now are in back of normal activities. I'm expecting from the next week to be involved in lesson deliveries alive, because everybody's talking about diminishing figures of, COVID-19 sick people, but actually it will start another problem. But then again, it's not a problem to be discussed here. I think that we need to be prepared, and we need to update ourselves with all the knowledge that we have, and to go even further from that. So hopefully this provides some kind of advice for people who are not so savvy at IT.
Indeed, and with your permission, I'd like to share with you a slide from a presentation of mine on cybercrime during COVID-19. Just one slide, and I do hope, can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
And it's those statistics were taken from research made by Barracuda almost 2 years ago. And you can see here 4 figures, and I think that they represent the problem of cybersecurity during COVID-19 era, especially when it's related to remote working model. And I think that each of them is disastrous. And when we take all of them, it's recipe for disaster, recipe for catastrophe. The first one is that 51%, and we must admit it, it's something like 2 years ago, after the first peak of the first wave, after the peak of the first wave. 51% of respondents say their workforce is not proficient or properly trained in the cyber risk associated with remote working, which means you sent your employees to work from home, but you didn't explain them the cyber related risks. The second, 46% are not confident the web application are secure. It's logic, because if you didn't explain them what are the cyber-related risks and how to work safely from home, 46% are not confident their web application are secure. The third is 50% of the employers have allowed employees to use personal email address and personal devices to conduct company work, which of course is a recipe for disaster. As we've mentioned, you allow not only to work from home, but to use personal email, unsecure internet connection, and personal devices to connect in order to do what? To connect to your stations and servers, secured servers, and to have access to perhaps confidential data from unsecured devices and connection. And the fourth one is 40% of respondents have cut, not increased, but cut their cybersecurity budgets as a cost-saving measures to help tackle COVID-19 crisis. So if you take each of them, it's a problematic one. And if you take all the 4 of them, and probably a lot of organizations that move to remote working model have all those 4 points, it's definitely a recipe for a cyber disaster, cyber crisis, as we saw. The last thing that I want to mention is that when it's come, if we look to the future, well, the future is not so bright, because the same research mentioned that 56% of organizations plan to continue widespread remote working even after COVID-19 crisis is over, which means they intend to absorb the remote working model and to use it after the COVID-19 crisis will over. So definitely it needs that we will have much more awareness, employees but employer as well, to the risks, to the threats, what are the means and the measures and tactics to work from home, to be more cyber-related, safe, and how to tackle those cyber threats during COVID-19 and beyond. Any question or remark from participants?
No.
Okay, so with this comes end to our event Cybercrime during COVID-19 era. I'd like to thank our distinguished speakers, Professor Zvonimir Ivanovic, full Professor, University of Criminal Investigation and Police Studies, Belgrade, Serbia, Professor Mina Zirojevic, Fellow Associate, Institute of Contemporary Law, Belgrade, Serbia, and Professor Nikola Protreka, College Professor at Zagreb Police College, Croatia. Thank you very much, professors. Thank you, all the participants that join us. I invite you to our next events. Take care, stay safe and healthy.
You too. Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Tal, and
Take care.
thank you to
Bye-bye.
all participants.
Bye-bye. Take
Very
care.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.